There was a time when Vipin couldn't even bend down to tie his own shoelaces. At 120 kilos, teaching business at a university, fitness was the last thing on his mind. He wasn't lazy, he was busy. Busy surviving, busy working, busy becoming the person everyone expected him to be. Until one day, something as simple as putting on shoes made him pause. He knew something had to change. He took the hard way, eating right, weights, cardio, learning everything on his own. He lost 35 kilos. Then came the pandemic. He gained it all back. But Vipin is not the kind to give up. He bounced back again. Today, he's not just fit, he's a coach. He has helped hundreds lose fat without giving up rice, festivals, or even family dinners. And in 2023, he stepped into a new world, running. From gym to the road, 5Ks turned to 10Ks. Half marathons every Sunday, one after the other. Because fitness isn't about abs or aesthetics. It's about showing up, breaking limits, and helping others do the same. This is Vipin, athlete, coach, a story worth running with.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Intentionality, where we talk about life with a purpose. So recently I was watching this program, Fit for TV, and there were many past participants of this program who were there, who were claiming that they had lost hundreds of pounds of weight, but still they were back to square one. So losing weight is not just one time activity, it's a lifestyle change. So I want to ask Vipin, what does that lifestyle look like?
It should be sustainable. The path you choose for trying to lose fat should be something that you can repeat over time whenever you happen to gain weight again. You will never go through life in a phase where you reach that ideal weight and you're always in that ideal weight. You're bound to go up a few kilos, down a few kilos, and so on. And especially when you go up a few kilos, it's important that you repeat past habits which helped you lose that fat. In all these programs, especially reality shows where they force these contestants to lose fat as rapidly as possible, they very likely make them go through a starvation process wherein they tell them, this day we are just going to have 3 glasses of lemon juice and that's all you're going to do. Now, for a person who's working in IT or a person who's working in some kind of 9 to 5 job, I can't advise them, you want to lose fat? Then today all you're going to do is have 3 glasses of lemon juice. That poor fellow will have some escalation or his manager will yell at him in the meeting because his work performance, everything is going to take a hit because all he's had is lemon juice that day. So the habits you have for fat loss should be something that is sustainable, and it shouldn't be like a crash diet, a crash or an aggressive exercise regime where you're sweating out, where you're puking while you're trying to work out, and you're doing these aggressive movements just to punish yourself for the wrong choices of food that you made in the past.
So you're saying it should not be punishment.
You should not see exercise as punishment. You should feel privileged that you can exercise today, because I see so many people who are living sedentary lives and they have many challenges living that sedentary life. And if you are able to exercise today for 30, 45 minutes or an hour, that's a huge privilege.
So that's Vipin, who can help you enjoy the process of staying fit. It's not about losing weight, it's staying fit. Um, Welcome, Vipin. Thank you. To the Intentionality podcast. And before we jump into fat loss, strength, running, many more like that, um, can you tell us about your background, right from childhood, let's say?
I started working at a fairly young age of 16. And it happened to be because I was in a debate competition and my senior saw me speak very well in a debate competition. And she said, Reliance is doing these promotions. Do you want to take part in these promotions? I said, what is the promotion? She said, we'll put up a kiosk. We're going to sell these old CDMA phones. This is back in 2003. And she says, okay, it's a paid job. And I ask her, what's the pay? She says, 350 per day. This is in 2003. I'm 16 years old. And I know even today, if a 16-year-old sees 350 rupees per day, they're going to quit whatever they're doing and run to that. And I took up that job overnight. And the whole of my 11th grade went into me working for Reliance Telecom. So I worked in Reliance Telecom for about a year, and then 12th comes in, and you would also been told this. 12th is the turning point of everybody's life. And 12th, I took my career a little seriously, my studies a little seriously, although the report card did not show that. I didn't really work for about a year. Degree classes start. 10 days into degree classes, I see a advertisement for Cadbury chocolates. And Cadbury chocolates is hiring sales executives. They had these celebration packs, which is meant for corporate fellows. And I applied for the interview, got through it, and I'm working for Cadbury for about a year. So one more year of degree went into me working for Cadbury chocolates. Second year of degree, I went into unemployment, meaning I attended classes like a good student does. Third year of degree, I started attending a job interview where I could teach people English. Aced it. Now I'm teaching people how to speak English, write English, listen and learn English, etc. Placements comes in, and then I join Infosys through placements. Very grateful to my college for having such a good company come by, and my corporate career started there. And then when my corporate career started, I was working in the investment banking side of Infosys clients. Worked there for approximately 2 years, learned a ton of things related to investment banking. And I just sent a random email to my old college HOD and told him that, sir, I know so many things about investment banking. Can I do a guest lecture for your students? He said, yeah, Vipin, you're my old student. Come down. And this was December 12th, 2009. And right after my guest lecture, this was a 2-hour guest lecture, I'm sure no one in my class understood what I was talking about because I was throwing derivatives, equations, everything on the board, very enthusiastically explaining about the world of derivatives and financial markets, etc. Afterwards, my HOD tells me, Vipin, do you want to start working here? I said, yeah, sir. What does the job pay? I'll pay you 500 per hour. And asked him, what do you mean per hour, sir? No, you take 2 classes a day. I'll pay you 500 per class. So you make 1,000 rupees per day. This is twice of what I was making in Infosys in a whole day. So 2 hours of working was getting me more than a full day of income at Infosys. And I said, let's jump ship. And gave my resignation. Started working in Jain College from 2009 all the way till about 2014, if I'm not wrong. So worked as a teacher in Jain College, and I started teaching 11th standard students, 12th standard students, and even degree students, business studies, economics. That was my specialty. And this is where I developed the love for teaching, wherein I saw that I have knowledge in my head and I need to convey that knowledge to people with whatever I've learned in the world of corporate, whatever I've learned since I was 16 years old. And then I quit Jain College, joined another institution, and I worked in another institution for about 8 years. So about 12 years I was there in the education sector. So that's my tenure in the education sector before I transitioned into the world of fitness.
So it's diverse actually. It's telecom, chocolates, English, investment banking. So it's quite diverse.
Yeah.
So did that help in shaping your mindset in any way?
Definitely. The one thing I can tell you is selling anything is extremely difficult. It's an underrated skill when it comes to trying to sell something, because when we were working in Cadbury chocolates, chocolate is a commodity that everyone in this room would enjoy. But the funny thing is, if I sell a chocolate to you, you're not willing to buy. You are going to go out and buy it yourself, not for your personal consumption, but maybe to give it to somebody else in most cases. So I saw how difficult it is to sell something as simple as chocolate. And I can't imagine how difficult it is to sell something else, which is probably 1,000 times more expensive than a bar of chocolate. That's something I learned. In the telecom sector, I learned how far we have come as a society when it comes to using phones. Because you and I have grown up in that generation of using a phone where the screen was 1 inch by 1 inch. It was black and white, pixelated. And now our phones can display billions of colors. And that makes me feel so humbled as to how far technology has come. And I always look back at that and I tell the younger generation that, we have grown up in an era with no technology, bad technology, and now we live in an era where the technology is incredible. You should be grateful to what you have. So every job opportunity I've had has taught me something extraordinary about life.
Nice. So, would you suggest, suppose if somebody wants to, let's say, shape their thought process in their life, early in their life, working in different jobs, different domains might be very useful?
It might be useful, but I feel like everyone should go through what is called as their hero's journey, which is you are here, you fall from grace, you hit rock bottom, and you need to figure out from that rock bottom, how do I climb back up again? Because once you hit that rock bottom, you know that this is the lowest I can go. There's nothing else that can happen to me that will be worse than this. And the only thing I need to do is climb up. And working in all these places was me having to go through a hero's journey one time, many other times. I had to go through the same thing in the banking sector, I had to go through the same thing in the teaching sector, and so on. Everywhere I had to start from scratch and, learn the basics all over again.
So, it's like you start from scratch and then
Yeah,
build up.
just like these economic cycle, recession, boom, like that. Unfortunately, no depression.
So that helps in, yeah, shaping up our mindset. So, this was all 9 to 5, 9 to 5.
9 to 5 jobs. Teaching sector was both in the morning college and evening college. So you could say it was from 8 in the morning to 8 in the evening. And that was something that taught me a lot regarding uh, how challenging it is for students these days to get into a good career or figure themselves out. Because with every batch of students, I would always see everybody comes with a fresh, clean slate. And now they have to start that journey all over again. And I felt privileged to be able to guide some of them to take up these journeys.
Got it. So, this is all professional work. So, how was the personal life during these years?
Personal life, I wouldn't really say much because I always kept my personal life away from uh, the professional side of things. I would go back home. I had a father who passed away in 2010 from a autoimmune disease, and I lived with my mother until about 2020. And throughout my childhood, it was always me being overweight. I don't remember a single phase in my life where I was lean, except for maybe the final semester of degree, where I remember stepping on the scale and the numbers reading 77. That was the only time in my life where I was lean. But throughout my life, I remember being the chubby kid of the family. And that had its difficulties because finding clothes was always a challenge. And I always felt embarrassed when it comes to buying clothes because I would go to the store and it would always be like, oh, 2 months ago I bought XL. It looks like I need to buy double XL now. So, from a personal side of things, at home things were fine, but in my head, I was always a bit upset about how heavy I was getting. And I never really knew what is the process I need to do to go about losing fat. Because you ask people out there or the internet, it will show you 100 different things as to what I should do, what I shouldn't do when it comes to trying losing weight. So I never really got an answer as to what am I supposed to do. So I just kept quiet. I was like, okay, this is my life now. Let me continue to eat. Let me continue to avoid exercise and so on. There was only a phase where I was physically active when I was teaching in Jain College. But then again, I wasn't really, what's the word, appearing fit. I was physically active, but my diet was always off. I never understood the most important thing, which is eating right.
So, you're saying it's the lack of knowledge that kept you away from.
Yes. And I would say that's a issue with every Indian household because I'm sure when you were growing up as well, you were never taught the importance of exercise, the importance of eating right, and so on. Nobody at the dinner table had conversations regarding carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. It's only now the present day parents, such as yourself, you are able to teach this to your kids. And it's going to start from here, where we start educating the younger generation the importance of eating right and exercising.
So, there was this pivotal moment in your life which actually made you think and then get into the habit of being fit. So talk to us about that.
I tried working out from 2016. I remember joining a nearby gym. I did go to the gym relatively regularly, but again, diet was off. But in 2018, January of 2018, I very well remember that day as if it happened yesterday. I'm wearing these brown leather shoes to work. I'm sitting down like this on a sofa. I'm trying to bend down and tie my shoelaces, and I'm breathing heavily trying to tie my own shoelaces. I think I was 30, 31 when this happened. And I was genuinely ashamed of myself. I'm like, you're 30 years old and tying shoelaces is causing you to go breathless. You aren't running, you aren't doing anything. You're sitting sedentary and you are struggling trying to tie shoelaces. Then I remembered what I had done a few minutes ago before I got ready for work. I had eaten probably 8, 10 idlis at home. And I knew it is eating that much quantity of food that had something to do with me feeling this way. So I started experimenting and I told myself, okay, tomorrow when I'm getting ready for work, how about I eat half of what I normally eat? And when I experimented with that, I saw that this feeling of breathlessness, this lack of energy, that wasn't happening. I can tie my shoelaces. I'm more energetic in class. I'm a lot more confident in how I feel simply because I ate less. So I knew food was the main thing that I needed to fix and not the working out part which needed concern. So I started to learn little by little as to how to eat better. Okay, I can't eat 8 idlis, obviously. What is the sweet spot? How much can I eat without feeling hungry and without going into that zone where I go breathless?
How did you learn?
Mostly trial and error. Mostly trial and error, because when I went on the internet or I started talking to people, everyone would tell me a different point of view. One person would tell me, oh, do not eat rice. Do not eat rice. The rice is the worst thing that you can consume. Then I'm like, I'm South Indian, bro. There is nothing else but rice and rice. And my dosa is rice, idli is rice is rice. What options do I have? So when people started to say that, when they started to make advice binary, which is, only this, not this, I saw that the advice that they were giving was wrong. I saw that whatever they're telling me is something is off about this information. It's like a spidey sense when somebody tells you something, you feel like there is something off about what you're telling. How is it possible that for hundreds of years, cultures have eaten rice, has never gotten fat? How is it that from today, it's a problem? So I started experimenting on myself, trying out how much can I eat? What should I minimize? What should I avoid? What should I entirely eliminate from my diet? How do I manage my cravings? I would test on myself. I was my own guinea pig for many months until I got the system right. And I remember when I stepped on the scale in January of 2018, I was around 128 kilos at the gym. And I knew food is the main reason that got me here. It is the double medium pizzas I would order every day. I'm not exaggerating as to how bad things were, but the nearby pizza outlet of Domino's, the manager there gave me their number in case I can't reach the helpline, because I would order that much. So this is how much food I used to consume, and I would know that, okay, this is something I should eat, this is something I should not eat, this is something I should eat less of, and so on. So a ton of trial and error I did and figured out how I should get my nutrition right.
I'm sure you would have made some mistakes.
Yeah.
So what mistakes did you make?
So the mistakes I'd made would be, say, for example, managing, or no, rather not understanding how much protein I'm supposed to consume. Like, I thought that if I consume a lot of protein, I can get rid of my cravings. And then I realized that no, protein is not the only way to get rid of cravings. You can also have fruits and vegetables to manage your cravings. Higher consumption of protein intake for some people may cause constipation, and I learned that as well. So I realized that, okay, there is a sweet spot to this as well. You can't consume an enormous amount of protein and expect to build gigantic muscles. So I learned to balance things out. Even little things like when you are eating out, and I tell this to people these days, look, if you want to eat out, you can make changes in your order. The food is not going to taste bad, In fact, the calories are going to be reduced by 30-40%, and that's great for somebody who's trying to lose fat. So those are some mistakes I made when it comes to eating out as well, where I told myself early on, no eating out whatsoever. But now I know you can eat out, but you can make changes in your order and you can still be fine as long as you are making those changes in your order.
So you were at 128 and then you brought it down to 75.
I brought it down to around 6 months into my fat loss journey. I met with an accident and I broke my right wrist. I still hit the gym and I did cardio. It was a small fracture, nothing which was crippling me. And I was so stubborn that I refused to wear a cast. I went against the doctor's advice. Please don't do such things. Listen to them, they're the experts. So I went against their advice and I didn't wear a cast and I continued to, do just cardio in the gym. So I was around 80-ish, mid 80s by 2019. And I was very consistent in whatever I was doing. So 2019, I had to undergo a surgery, and that threw my gym journey off by 6 months. I was told after the hernia surgery, do not lift weights, at least for 6 months, avoid. So I was very careful about how much calories I was consuming, movement, all that. In fact, I remember the day one of my surgery after I got discharged. So today they do the surgery at 2 a.m. The next day at 9 a.m. I went against the doctor's advice and I discharged. That evening, the following day evening, I remember going for a 3 kilometer walk. The stitches are still fresh, and I told myself, no, I'm not sitting down, I'm going to move. So that is how much I pushed myself so that, I'm in shape. I don't want to gain that fat again. I was so scared about gaining that fat again. I was so worried that, oh, my jeans are not going to fit, my pant is not going to fit. So started working out again in early 2020. And we all know what happened in 2020. The whole gym business, gym industry was closed because of the lockdown. And I started trying to exercise at home. That's when I discovered kettlebells as something that, okay, this can get me in shape. And I started using kettlebells there. So I was around 85-ish, I guess, around this time. But then, thanks to lockdown and me going off my diet again, I went from 80-ish to 80, 85-ish to again 100. And I realized I needed to restart my journey all over again.
So you have gone through this journey multiple times.
Multiple times, and I'm going through it now as well. In fact, in June, July this year, I remember putting this on my Excel. I was around 86 kilos. And I had to go back to my old weight of 75, 77 kilos. So I'm currently at around 82 kilos, and hopefully by the end of the month, I will be sub 80 kilos. So it will always be that ups and downs when it comes to a person's scale. It will never be a flat after you get to that weight.
Basically, that tells us that it's a continuous process.
It's always a work in progress.
So if somebody has lived life 31 years with certain habits, changing that is not overnight.
Yeah.
It's gonna take mindset change, lifestyle change. So what kind of mindset did you develop after 31?
I saw that if you want to get rid of a habit, you need to phase out a habit. I advise this to people who are looking to quit tobacco. So if a person is smoking 4 cigarettes a day, you can't go from 4 to 0 tomorrow. I tell them go from 4 to 3 for the next 4 weeks. And the 4 weeks afterwards, go from 3 to 2, then 2 to 1, and then finally 0. This process is probably going to take 6 months for you to completely get rid of tobacco in your life. But if you go from 4 to 0, that becomes unsustainable. The same happens with your dietary habits as well. Don't be that person who wants to be 100% on point with your diet. Even professional athletes are never 100% on point with their diet. They give about 80, 85%, maybe 95, 90% of the time they're on point with their diet. So if you can make those changes 90% of the time, 80% of the time in our case, you will see progress. You don't have to give 100%. And only for health, for some reason, everybody wants to give 100%. And giving 100% to your health is very difficult. To say things like, no, I will never touch a slice of cake. I will never eat pav bhaji. I will never eat dabeli. that life is going to be very painful for you if you approach health that way.
Right. So, if you're talking about sustaining, so what I heard from what you said so far is it's not just diet. You are also doing strength training.
Yeah.
You are also doing aerobic work.
Yeah.
So what are all the different components of one going through a weight loss journey?
Weightlifting is mandatory for anyone, regardless of age group. And I'm so happy these days I find Instagram reels where I see a 80-year-old woman taking part in a powerlifting competition, and I'm like, wow, it's incredible at her age she's still lifting weights. And at the same time, I coach people as well. My youngest client is a 13-year-old girl. She's starting to lift weights and she's a very strong lady. So, regardless of what field you are in, weight training of some kind, whether you're using kettlebells, whether you're using barbells, whether you're using gym machines, dumbbells, this has to be there in your lifestyle, because that's where you start building muscle. And when you start building muscle, everything is going to get better in your health. You will notice little movements get better, like, say, for example, climbing stairs. You used to feel some kind of knee pain, and now you can climb a flight of stairs without that discomfort in your knee. You would normally wake up with some kind of back pain, but now you wake up without that back pain. Today, we should have that mindset to lift weights not for the sake of that, that aesthetic build, that broad shoulders, narrow waist. We don't want that. After a certain age, you want to live life pain free. And that's where weight training becomes most important. Nobody wants to wake up with back pain or neck pain. Lifting weights greatly reduces instances where you have back pain, where you have these leg pains, etc. And that is an absolute game changer. And I believe everyone should lift weights. Regarding aerobic work, running, or some kind of zone 2 cardio, as I call it, everyone should have that, because the most important muscle in your body is your heart health. And unfortunately, the major killer these days for humans happens to be heart disease. So, working on your heart again is non negotiable. You have to do some kind of zone 2, whether you're running on a treadmill, cross trainer work you're doing, some long distance cycling you're doing, or outdoor running you're doing. That's a must for your lifestyle. And you don't have to do it, as aggressively as what some athlete does. Like, some clients look at me and tell me, you wake up at 3 a.m. and go for a run. I can't do that. Don't. Wake up at 6 a.m. and do a 10-minute jog around your neighborhood apartment complex. That does wonders. Eventually, you will see 10 minutes can give me this much benefit. What if I do it for 15 minutes, and you will realize it gives you even more benefit? So you are self-driven to push yourself more by doing aerobic work and weight training work. You will only realize the benefits of just investing, say, 45 minutes a day, 3 days, maybe 4 days a week. And you'll see remarkable results as a beginner.
Right. Makes a lot of sense. So there is strength training, any kind of weight, even if it is body weight. So dieting, then cardio work. Anything else that you suggest as part of weight loss journey?
Find a way to manage your stress, because it's heartbreaking to see youngsters these days who are in their 30s. My own close friend, he ended up with a heart attack at the age of 33, and he had 2 or 3 blocked valves in his heart. That again is because of poor management of stress. Now, everybody has this impression of stress wherein you have this cartoonish image of a person's stress image where they're having their hand on their head trying to pull their hair out. I don't have any, but that's the image. That is not what stress is. Stress is very subtle. You don't really realize it until the worst happens. So, a healthy hobby, it could be playing with Legos, it could be playing with kids, playing with your pets, it could be gaming. Anything which helps you de stress at the end of the day, which doesn't make you think about work, that is a must for everyone. Unfortunately, when you see people get stressed today, they choose alcohol or tobacco. And yes, that does help in the short term, but it does way more damage in the long term than anything else. But the other things, like, say, meditation, it could be, a spiritual practice that you want to do. gaming, any other hobby where you want to invest your time and energy, money as well, the results are certainly rewarding. For me, it's gaming. And I remember bunking several classes as well just to sit and play games. And even today, I ensure I play every day for at least half an hour on my PC. I have to. It's the best way for me to go about relieving stress.
Nice. That makes sense. So it could be anything that helps you de-stress. Okay. So you went through your own journey multiple times and you learned it by trial and error. When did you start formally educating yourself?
That would be in late 2000s and early 2021. 2020 and 2021, sorry. 2021, when I started studying to get professional certifications in fitness from different organizations like ACE and FPT. What else do I have? And a few more certifications I can't remember. That's when I started learning about human anatomy, and whatever I did through trial and error, I started learning it through books. I started writing exams, and I was like, oh, okay, it makes sense. Oh, this is how protein works in the body, or this is how carbohydrates work in the body. Okay, there is something called a Krebs cycle. Makes sense. So many things I started to understand as to why my body behaves that way, because the textbook could teach me this is how things work. So around 2021, I completed all my certifications.
Okay. So then you also quit your full-time job and then got into full-time.
I quit my full-time job in around that time as well. Yep. And got into this full-time. I got into this full-time because I was doing fitness part-time, as in I was coaching people on the side as a side hustle. So in late 2018, as I started my journey in fitness itself, people started to reach out to me and ask me, hey, you're losing weight, teach me how. So I said, yeah, do these things, you'll also start losing weight. So I would just help them out with, changing their behavior, help them develop healthy habits. So I had some kind of part-time experience in that field for about 2-3 years, I guess. And then in 2021, I completely went full-time into it. I was like, okay, I need to do this full-time. And I started helping people on a full-time basis to reach their healthy weight. It wasn't just reach their healthy weight, it was the other things as well that I started to discover. Early on, when people are looking to get in shape, it's because for aesthetic reasons. And now I realize it's even more valid and sensible reasons. Like one client of mine, he was so heartbroken that I'm not able to carry my daughter for more than 2 minutes. I get back pain. So as a dad, that is going to hit you hard, that you can't carry your own child for more than 2 minutes. And he's like, I want to get in shape so that I can carry her for an hour, 2 hours. Don't feel that stress. And last week, there was a function at his apartment complex, and he was so happy and so elated that I carried my daughter for 2 hours and I experienced no back pain there. Previously, for about 2 minutes, if I carried her, I would experience back pain. So those are more valid reasons for you to stay in fit and stay in shape than broad shoulders, narrow waist. I want to look like that Bollywood actor. I want to look like that Bollywood actress, and so on. These are more sustainable reasons for you to be in shape, rather. Because let's face it, after we cross a certain age, it's going to be embarrassing for you to ask somebody for help. Like, say, climbing stairs, or, getting help to get up from the toilet or sit down on the toilet, or I'm not able to carry my own grocery bag. Those are more valid reasons for you to strength train than anything else.
That's more a functional strength. Right. So would you call yourself a wellness coach today?
Maybe, but I would look at it as sustainable fat loss more than anything else.
Okay. So your focus is still.
Yeah, sustainable fat loss. Yeah.
And most of the people that you work with are 9 to 5, not 9 to 5, it's 9 to 9 now. So if you live in Bangalore, it's 9 to 9. So these are full-time.
There are people who work in the IT sector. There are people who are businessmen. They are not able to find time to exercise. They're not able to learn how to eat better because they also experience the same problems as me, wherein rice is bad for you, can't eat this, can't eat out, and so on. And they would reach out to me and ask me, okay, I want to do all these things where I enjoy the foods that I like. I still want to eat rice. How do I do this? So I would teach them the process as to how to get in shape.
What are some of the myths that people come to you with?
One is something like genetics or hormones is something that made me fat. So when I was growing up, I remember I had a very skinny cousin, and everybody would tease her that, you're very skinny, all that. And she would say, after I get married, I'm going to gain fat. I thought after you get married or something, maybe at the age of 27 on average, where everybody gets married, some gene in the body gets activated and everybody puts on weight. This is how I thought. And seeing my relatives as well who all got married, after they got married, everybody started to gain fat. So even I believed that, genetics is definitely a reason why you can gain fat. So whenever somebody comes to me and tells me that genes or hormones made me fat, I tell them, look, I'm going to coach you for the next 15 days free of cost. Show me what you're eating for the next 15 days. And 100% of the time, I will confidently tell you, when they show me what they eat for breakfast, it's 1000 calories right there. And I tell them, look, if you're looking to lose fat, you've already consumed about 80-90% of the day's calories in your breakfast. So if you intend to eat another 2 meals, you are in the surplus. Of course, that's going to cause you to gain weight. So myths like hormones are something that will cause you to gain fat, genetics will make you fat, is just not being accountable to your own bad habits that cause you to gain fat. Because you don't see people who have alcohol and tobacco issues do this. Like a person who has, lung disease will not say it's the, something else that's causing this. It's obviously the tobacco. So if you're unhealthy, it's obviously due to the food that you are eating that has caused you to gain that fat. So that's one myth. Another myth is protein for some reason is detrimental to your health. The belief is there because you will get a blood test done. If you are a person who's on a high protein diet, you'll get a blood test done. If I'm not mistaken, the report will show urine or blood test will show high creatinine levels. And there the doctor is like, oh, creatinine levels are very high. What is happening to your kidneys and so on? That is inevitable if you're on a high protein diet. It doesn't mean your kidneys are going to shut down. That's another myth as well. Eating beyond 6 p.m. is going to make you fat. That's another myth. Your body doesn't understand 5 a.m., 5 p.m. We, however, understand sunrise and sunset. Your body is synchronized to sunrise and sunset. We created time as a convention for us, but your brain doesn't understand 3 p.m. or 4 p.m. You can eat whatever you want in a 24-hour window, and if your calories are in a deficit, you're going to lose fat. If your calories are in a surplus, you're going to gain fat. If you are at maintenance, nothing is going to happen. That's another myth that is there with respect to food. And another myth I have with respect to food is this is something we were told while growing up. Like, say, for example, if you consume one specific food, it will enhance one specific part of your health. So I wish food works like that, where, you can eat this and only make your bones stronger, only make your arms stronger or your muscles stronger and so on. Food does a variety of things. One of the things it does is maybe help you make one part of your body stronger, but that's not the only thing what food is capable of doing. It can do many more.
So when you have to break myth, it's a change in belief system of your clients, right? So have you find it any challenging, when it is more than the myth, like if they have some religious belief, sometimes breaking that may be very challenging. So what kind of
I
challenges
can
have you
use
faced?
that against them, because sometimes I'd suggest a client that, they'll tell me, look, I have a dinner party to attend. I tell them, if you're going to a dinner party, smart thing to do is skip all meals a day. I can't skip. If I fast, I'm going to get a headache. I tell them, didn't you fast during Navratri? So you're telling me all the days on Navratri you got headaches. No, that is different. Same thing. If you can fast for God, you can fast for yourself on a non-religious event as well. Sometimes I use that against them as well. Another thing which I tell people would be, I forgot what kind of a bias this is called. Maybe it's survivorship bias, where they give me this answer of telling me, my grandfather never consumed protein, why should I? And I tell them the same. Your grandfather very likely didn't do graduation. Why did you do graduation? Why did you go abroad to do your MBA? You could have also done the same thing, no? So what works for them is something that will not work for you. other people as well. There are certainly people who smoke who lived up to 100. Doesn't mean you test and see, will I live up to 100 by smoking a pack a day? So those biases I break because growing up, my father taught me to have that scientific temperament, to question things, to ask questions, to ask, logic and reasoning in whatever I do. In fact, just before I came here, I was talking to an old client. She sent me a video of this lady in a podcast saying, this person in London was consuming so much protein and then his kidney shut down. Like, what is that very specific person in London? Why are we going with that? And I replied to her saying, and this person who has completed chartered accountancy ended up getting divorced. So don't do chartered accountancy. That's the same logic you're using here, right? If you tell me some random person ended up with some random problem somewhere in the world, same thing here. So that's one way in which I'm able to use this, because again, being in the education sector, I had the advantage of meeting thousands of students. So you understand people's patterns and behaviors. So you know what to tell, what to not tell, and how to say things in the way in which they can understand.
That makes a lot of sense. Right. You also got into running.
Yeah.
When did that happen?
Someone I loved calls me the other day and tells me, where are you right now? I'm coming home. I'm very likely going to pass a kidney stone. I'm in a lot of pain. This lady I know was taking a medication, a lithium-based medication, which is known to cause kidney stones. It wasn't her first rodeo when it comes to experiencing kidney stones. I was on a walk that day because I thought walking is something that I should do every day. I was on a walk. I was exactly 750 meters away from my home. And this person needed medical emergency, and I asked them, where are you? And they say, I'm in an auto. I'm about 2 kilometers away. Okay, I'm 750 meters away. If you're coming by auto, I'm sure you'll reach home before me. There is no key to the house as well that you have. So I was wearing sandals that day, and I remember running. I burst into a run, and somehow I made it to my home well before the auto arrived. You can make a joke on Bangalore traffic for this. Reached there, and there I saw that this person was in a lot of discomfort. So that's where I did my first run. I ran for 750 meters, and I saw after running for 750 meters, I wasn't as exhausted as I thought I was. Because I had a wrong idea of what running is. I thought running means you run as fast as possible from point A to point B. And now I know that is sprinting. If you do that, yes, you will be gassed out. You can't do anything else for the next few minutes. That's when I realized that I'm relatively fine. It's a little bit out of breath, but it's okay. And I was even able to carry this person up to the first floor thanks to my strength training work. They were weighing around 50 kilos, so I carried them, helped them reach safely. We took them to the doctor and so on. But that was the first time I did a run. And then I thought, okay, let me try out in the treadmill in the gym. So I would test the gym treadmill, so put the setting 6 kilometers an hour. Can I run at 6 kilometers? No, this is too slow. Okay, 9 kilometers an hour is too fast. Okay, I think 7.5 I should try. So I would send messages to a friend of mine who's a veteran runner. He does Malnad Ultra. He does these things, sleepwalking. He's able to run those events. I would tell him that, I'm running. Is this good? He says, this is great. You're making very good progress. But where are you doing this? I said, treadmill. No. Do outdoor runs. Outdoor runs. Okay. No, I'm not doing outdoor runs. I'm going to stick to treadmill. But then I remember an instant. What happened was Bangalore was going through power cuts in 2023. This is in June, July of 2023. And in a treadmill, when the power cut happens, it suddenly stops and you will tend to fall. This happened to me once, this happened to me twice, and the third time, I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm going to figure out a way in which I can run outdoors. So I sat down, I sent a message to some clients in the morning. We would have personal training classes. I would tell them, we have our class at 5 o'clock in the morning. Can we do at 6? They all replied, yes, 6 works for me. So now I told myself, I'm going to go out for a run in the morning. I'll figure out. So I slowly went out for doing outdoor runs. And I, slowly got into the habit of figuring out a route, sticking to that route. And since 2023, I remember sticking to the same route every day when I do my training runs. It's a same route which I go for 5 kilometers. I don't run every day. There have been times where I've been running 5 kilometers every day. So on an average in a month, I end up doing about 100 kilometers in a month in terms of running mileage. But primary focus will always be weights for me. One more instance, I remember the reason for me to get into outdoor running was I did my first 5K on a treadmill, and I text this friend of mine. I show him the screenshot, and he replies, "It's not a real 5K unless you do it on the road." Okay, I'm going to do it on the road. So I did my first 5K there. And then another instance happened where I was talking to this client and I asked her, "Hey, are you coming to class tomorrow? If not, let me know. I'm planning to do a 10K." Now, she said, "Yeah, I'm attending class." But then I realized, I've told her I'm going to do a 10K. If I don't do it, I'm doing a huge disservice to myself. I'm a person who really believes that, if I say something, I have to do it. If it's out there, I have to do it. So I did my first 10K out on the roads again. I was bored. I was like, what is the same old tree I'm seeing over and over again? The same old dog has chased me over and over again. I was bored. But nonetheless, running has taught me to cope with boredom. It's an underrated thing today where people don't realize that how important it is to be bored, because you're constantly exposed to screens. And while you're running, there is nothing in front of you, and your brain screams at you, "Show me something interesting." And running helps you develop that discipline of just being by yourself and not having a care for the world.
Then you started going outside the city as well?
Sometimes the first outside the city run I did was the one in Mysore. This is something where I had registered for this run and I left my house at around 1:30 in the morning. I went out in my Activa. This is not something I advise people to do. I went out in my Activa. It took me about 3 hours to reach Mysore. Uh, I was very devoid of sleep. Somehow made it to Mysore and I ran a 10K in Mysore. I think I completed that in around 50-ish minutes. 10K I finished in Mysore. Finished the 10K, collected my medal, ate something, rode back from Mysore. And that's how I was able to, uh, do my my first ever outside the district event I started to do. So that was again a go outside the comfort zone moment for me.
So you do this just to push you out of the comfort zone.
I was always this person who feels like I should not go beyond 5 kilometer radius for whatever reason. Now, when I did my first run, I remember it was in Belandur. Belandur from my place is 25 kilometers. I was like, okay, one exception I'll make, fine, Belandur. Then another event. This is in HSR layout, 15 kilometers from my place. I started to realize that this thing of running is making me go outside my comfort zone, going to places which I would never go. So, HSR layout, Devanhalli, nice road, all these different places it started to take me. Intentionality run, Tumkur. All these places which were never something I would agree to do, running told me that, you have to go here and complete it. Initially, I was very particular about things like, I should complete it at this time, that time, and so on. But now it's like, look, compare yourself as to how you were before. Once upon a time, you took 1 hour, 15 minutes to finish a 10K. In this, 10K on nice road, you did it in 50 minutes. That's a huge win. That's a huge win for you. Some other day, things were not going well for you, probably did it for 55 minutes. No problem. I look at this as, and this was something we were discussing before we started recording, so many people wake up in the morning to go and eat biryani. If you woke up in the morning to go for a run, an event where, you are waking up, traveling some 10, 15 kilometers and then, doing something that is tough, you are in that 0.01% out there. Don't worry about ranks. Don't worry about, speed, anything. Focus on completing from point A to point B. That's what matters more than anything else.
Makes sense. You also told me that you had this challenge of running half marathon every Sunday.
Yeah.
And you post it to yourself?
So, as part of my birthday month, when I was turning 38, I decided to register for 4 half marathons, one every Sunday. Unfortunately, only 3 happened, but it's okay. So, this is one of them, which is the Toyota Birdi half marathon, which is the fastest ever I've done in a half marathon. So, I think I finished it in 1 hour 50 ish, 50 or 51 minutes. I managed to finish my half marathon. And just before the Toyota Birdi half marathon was the Jarakabande trail run. This is a half marathon in trail. This event is very memorable for me because before the start of this event, the race director tells us 2 kilometers into the run, the route gets very slippery. Be careful because we've had people fall down there. Usually, this Jarakabande event is an ultra, so it happens over many days. So they're telling me yesterday when this event was started, many people fell. Be very careful after the 2 kilometer spot. So there's a picture of me wherein I'm, having my hands folded like this and listening to the race director religiously, yeah, I'm going to be very careful at the 2 kilometer mark. Exactly at the 2 kilometer mark, I fell down and I hurt both my knees. My knees are covered in blood there. And I was like, damn it, I have another 19 kilometers to go. Okay, what do I do? Folded up my pants. I was wearing my track pants and I folded up them above my knees, continued to finish. I was like, okay, what choice do I have? I started, I'm not going to stop. Continued. And the funny thing is, this event is 4 loops, which you need to do. And in the last loop, I'm 400 meters, I guess, from the finish line. A paramedic notices and tells me, sir, you're injured. Do you need help? Like, no, I'm good. I'm almost done with the race. So I finished the event with my knees still bloodied, and all the pictures from that event you can clearly see. I've injured both knees. Still, I'm like, no, I need to finish this. So another important lesson that running has taught me is every event I learn a very valuable lesson. Like I had done so many half marathons in March. I thought, okay, how hard is this? And then Intentionality run in Tumkur. I was very humbled by the route. 5 kilometers into the route, I felt, this is quite easy. I wonder what they're talking about. Where is the elevation? And then it started. Go up, go down, go up, go down. And that made me realize that, okay, 21 kilometers is not 21 kilometers in all places. It feels very different. Because when I ran Toyota Biddi, it was mostly flat, so I could ace through there. When I ran Jarka Banda, I remember finishing 7th or 6th. Despite a bloodied knee, I was able to finish pretty well. So I thought, okay, I can do Tumkur well, I can do another half marathon very well. And then Nandi Hills comes in. The Nandi Hills half marathon, the first edition of that. It's, I think, 9 kilometers up where it's purely hill climb. All the hairpin bends, everything you do a U-turn and come back. It was one of the most beautiful routes I've ever been through. So every run teaches me this, and that's something I tell people, look, experience these things. Instead of worrying about, I'm slow. Everyone is slow when they started off. When I was in shape, I was slow. When I was in shape, the first 10K I did, I took 1 hour 10 minutes or 1 hour 15 minutes. I can't remember. So even you are going to be that way. Running is a different thing. Weight training is a different thing. There are two different universes where I also realize that I might comfortably deadlift 100 kilos, but running 1 kilometer is going to humble me, let alone running 21 kilometers.
What's the rationale behind challenging yourselves on your birthdays?
It's not just birthdays. It's like I just like to challenge myself in general. It's like I like to push the goalpost regularly. The thing about weight training is, after a point, you will reach a physical limit and you will reach an experience limit. When I say an experience limit, I mean, look, you deadlift in gym A versus gym B, it's going to be the same. And there will be a theoretical physical limit for your health, wherein beyond a certain point, you'll realize, yeah, I don't want to break my back doing this. I've experienced that because I have herniated discs, many herniated discs, in fact. So I've realized that, okay, pushing myself in weight training is not wise. But when it comes to running, just as I said a few minutes ago, 21K is not 21K in every route. It feels very different. Nandi Hills 21K was way different from Intentionality 21K. So each time I do a half marathon, I realize the experience I get is different. It is a whole new challenge I need to take up altogether. It might be the same route, but nonetheless, the people around me, they would be a different set of people, and I feel challenge. Feel a sort of challenge trying to take on those guys. So everywhere there's a different experience altogether, and that's something which makes me go back to running. I realize that there are new things to look forward to, and I have this whole Excel sheet wherein I keep a record of all the runs I've registered. September is one of those runs where I've got 4 half marathons again happening, one every Sunday. There is another half marathon happening in Tumkur on Saturday 27th, and I'm doing another 10K on 28th. So I'm doing a half marathon today, I'm doing another 10K the next day. That's how I feel like running has challenged me. And little by little, I started to push myself, wherein the first time I realized that, okay, I can do 2 runs back to back at competitive events was when this was an Excel error, I remember. This client of mine tells me, hey, are you doing Hennur Ultra? Because I want to do it, but I don't want to go on a Sunday. And I tell, what Sunday? It's on a Saturday. I said, no, Hennur Ultra is on a Sunday. I'm like, no, 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 no. Sunday, then this is happening. Wipro is happening. So I called up the organizer and I asked them, can I do the event on a Saturday? Because anyway, it's for 4 days. So yeah, come on a Saturday and do. So Hennur Ultra 10K I did on a Saturday. Next day I ran my first half marathon Wipro.
Okay.
So I thought, okay, this is possible. Fast forward again a month later, again an Excel sheet error. Kaveri Trail Run. Kaveri Trail Run in November was happening. It was on a Sunday. I'd registered for a 10K. I called up the organizer and I said, Saturday, can I come and do? Because Saturday half marathon is there, but I still want to run a 10K. Can I do that? They said, no, please register for a half marathon. Okay. Registered for a half marathon. Did a half marathon there on a Saturday. Next day, I ran HRX Pinkathon, 10K in Kaban Park. And there, I think I finished in the top 5, despite doing a half marathon the previous day. And Kaveri Trail was savage. It was very painful on my body, but still managed to do it. So, like this, running has taught me that, yeah, I can do more than what I thought. So, doing this half marathons every Sunday is something that I'm looking forward to.
And there is a lot more. You can do marathons, ultra marathons.
Right now, my body is like, I'm going to shut down after 25K. That's the max I've seen. Because when I ran this is the BMF Ultra 30-kilometer run, this was 4 loops of 7.5 kilometers you had to do or something. When I did this, I'm doing it quite effortlessly. I'm quite chill. We're getting through the run. After the 24-25K mark, my both hamstrings went on strike. They said, yeah, I'm not doing this anymore. And they completely froze. So I remember walking the last 5 kilometers. And this I thought is something that happens when I do, beyond a certain limit. Even when I do half marathons, I realize as I'm coming close to the finish line, my physical limits of my body start to kick in. So right now I'm like, okay, 21K is good. Hopefully we'll see if I can do more in the, years ahead or the months ahead.
What is the North Star for Vipin the runner?
North Star meaning?
The ultimate goal.
Do these events out of the country, not too far away, because I have 5 cats and they don't eat food unless I put food on the table. So they don't like anybody else feeding them. So I want to do the one in Bhutan or Sikkim, I forgot which happens there. I want to do ones in Ladakh. I want to do ones in Chennai. I want to do the NMDC that happened last week. Because I asked these veteran runners, what's the big deal about this? And they'll tell me, oh, this is a important event. You have to do this. It's the next big event after the Tata Mumbai Marathon. You have to take part. I'm like, okay, maybe not this year. Hopefully sometime later. I've gone from 5 kilometers to within the city. Now outside the city, I'm willing to go. Now maybe to corners of the state would be the next thing, and maybe beyond that is the next thing. It's probably also because, it feels good at this age to pull off these things. Because throughout my life, I've been this overweight kid who'd struggled to climb a flight of stairs. Now, to do a half marathon, I feel good. I can do a half marathon.
So you have been through fat loss journey. you do strength training.
Yeah.
You have been running. And of course, you have clients whom you work with.
Yeah.
So, in terms of nutritional needs or fueling needs of someone who is going through fat loss journey versus building muscle versus running, what's the difference?
If you are purely into endurance running, you should be on a high carb diet. Especially before race day, you would have done this, which is carb loading, all this. That unfortunately will not work if your priority is strength training. I tell people, look, what is it that you want to do? Do you want to be a runner? Do you want to be a weightlifter? Or do you want to be a weightlifter who runs? Or do you want to be a runner who lifts weights? Because each of these things, there's a different kind of nutrition protocol that you should follow. Because again, through trial and error, I've figured out that a low carb diet, which many strength trainers do, high protein, get 100 grams of protein per day, something that I follow even today, that's not sustainable if you are into running. Because protein as a nutrient will not help you provide fuel for your body. That's like putting diesel into a petrol car and wondering, why is my car not starting? That's what protein is like when it comes to trying to fuel you. So figure out what is it that you want to do. If you want to purely strength train, focus on the higher protein content, focus on the low carb life. Running, you can keep it to maybe 1K, 2K on a treadmill 3 days a week. You'll be fine. You won't notice any problems. But endurance, focus on the higher carb intake. Prioritize carbohydrate intake. Make sure that your glycogen reserves are full so that you don't gas out during a run. There is the in-between part wherein weightlifters who want to run, people like me, in that case, you'll have to figure out a sweet spot between the two, wherein up to race day, or rather a day or two before the race day, stick to your weight training protocol, stick to that 100 grams. And then maybe a day or two before the race day, you prioritize carbohydrate intake. And once the race is done, then go back to that high protein diet that you're following. Keep your training runs simple. Don't be the person who wants to do, speed running, intervals, etc. Because again, you will have to go back to a high carb diet to be able to fuel those events. Just do a simple run around the neighborhood. Just focus on lifting heavy because lifting heavy will eventually help you get better at running.
There be any difference if I am on a fat loss journey in terms of macros?
In general, I would advise whether you want to gain healthy weight or lose fat, get at least 1 gram of protein for your ideal body weight. So my ideal body weight is around 75 kilos. So at least 75 grams of protein is ideal for me. So whatever is your ideal body weight, get that amount of protein for your day. Measuring carbohydrates and fats for the general population can get difficult. It's very helpful for an athlete though. If your full-time job is to run, if your full-time job is to play cricket, play badminton, then definitely every gram of carbohydrate you consume, every molecule of fat you consume matters. But for the general population, and I include myself among them as well, carbohydrates measuring and fat measuring is going to be tough. It is a lot of decisions that you have to take. Measure the protein part because protein as a nutrient is quite scarce. If you're a vegetarian, it's even harder. So measure that. Rest of the things, keep it under portion control. Minimize consumption of junk, especially for people who want to lose fat. One tip I can tell them is consuming junk can be either an all-out binge eating session or eating just a little bit over 2-3 days. Like you might be a person who devoured a whole bag of Lays in one shot, or you split that Lays into 3 days, still counts as overeating. In such a situation, mark on a calendar, I overate on these days. If in 30 days in a month, the number of days you have overeaten is say 3, you will still see very good progress in your fat loss. You will not see any compromise in your progress if you've overeaten just about 3 days. Don't worry about festivals. Festivals happen. There are probably 20 festivals for us. If you overeat 20 festivals in a year, nothing is going to happen. Just be mindful of random eating because I felt like it. I was bored. I felt like eating it. That's the bigger concern.
Makes a lot of sense. Talking about vegetarians.
Yeah.
I mean, I do hear people do complain about hating protein. Being a vegetarian is difficult. So what would be your advice for them?
Lentils, plants are not a source of protein. They are a source of carbohydrates. They're a great source of carbohydrates. Dal is a great source of carbohydrates, I can't deny that, but not a protein source. Simply because the human gut, there is a term which we use called as bioavailability, which is our gut cannot absorb that protein from dal so well. And 100 grams of dal, if you happen to cook, can serve about 3 people. So that 22 or 25 grams of protein gets split among 3 people. And thanks to bioavailability, your body can absorb only 50%. So are you getting anything at all when you do that? So instead, for vegetarians, I always advise tofu is a great choice. And in the market today, Amul has done an absolute game changer by introducing high protein variants of products I never expected, like even buttermilk. Some brands have even introduced high protein paneer, where per block of paneer you get anywhere from 55 to 60 grams of protein, compared to a regular protein, regular paneer rather, wherein you get just about 30 or 40 grams. So nearly double that for half the calories you're getting. Go with high protein paneer. Tofu is a great option. Then apart from that, protein supplements are also a great option. You don't have to fear supplements. It's made from dairy sources. You even have vegan sources of protein as well, vegan protein powders as well. So you essentially, as a vegetarian, have 4 options of protein. So that is the variety that vegetarians have when it comes to protein sources. I know non-vegetarians tell themselves that, I have fried chicken and all this, but fried chicken or frying meats in general is going to destroy their protein content. If you're grilling them and having them, yes. But I know how boring grilled meats taste. And that's not something people are excited about. People love kebabs, which is fried. People love KFC, which is fried. But doesn't really have as much protein as you think it does. Grilled variants of meats definitely is better for you.
Makes sense. Now there are people like others, uh, looks fit, but it does not work out. He doesn't eat well. Mostly eats dosa, nothing beyond that. He's a vegetarian, but only thing he eats is dosa. And you talked about when we had a call, you talked about skinny fat or slim fat. Someone might look fit, but they may not be fit. So how do you convince your clients that they have to figure out what really is good for them and what not?
Many times I've had people who tell me that, I'm not fat as such. And then I ask them, okay, I don't understand what that means. Can you send me a photo of you, shirtless? And when they send me a picture of themselves shirtless, I see that they have these love handles, they have that little pot belly, and I tell them, look, this is the result of a high carbohydrate diet. A high carbohydrate diet is going to lead to that belly fat development just there. And that's mostly because that's the most empty part of your body, and your body starts to put in fat there. When people start to gain fat, they don't realize it because first place the body puts on fat is be under your skin, and we call that as subcutaneous fat. Like you will see a little bit of chubby cheeks, okay, or maybe underarms are a little flabby and so on. That's something that's an aesthetics issue. But then your body runs out of places to put that fat and it starts putting it here. And that's when you realize that, okay, you are become skinny fat there. The rest of you looks lean, while here there is that little pot belly that is there. After a certain point, the body starts to put on fat in the chest as well and forces more places in the body where the fat gets deposited. So when that happens, I tell them, look, what you have is called a skinny fat. And there's a picture of mine that I show and I tell them, look, this is me with 2 different weights. I think I'm 80 or 85 kilos in that picture, where I show them that in this picture also I'm the same weight, in this picture also I'm the same weight. The difference is in one place I have muscle, in the other place I have fat. The skinny fat, how do you get rid of? Same protocol as fat loss procedures as well. Get your protein intake down, meaning at least 60, 70 grams a day, depending on your ideal body weight. Start lifting weights, do a little bit of cardio, not crazy kind of cardio like running 5Ks. Walk incline on the treadmill, 15 minutes 3 times a week. Lift weights 3 times a week, 30, 45 minutes. And you will see that belly fat disappear over the next few weeks. And you will see your body start to get that more aesthetic shape. So that's one way in which you can get rid of that skinny fat. It's the high carb diet that is there that causes people to gain that belly fat. And what a lot of people don't realize is it's not the negative thing that carbohydrates do to your body. It's because you are not physically active. There is no reason for the body to use those carbohydrates. So a lot of people tend to become insulin resistant, or worse, they go into that state of type 2 diabetes because of that high carb diet. And belly fat is the first sign of you are getting to insulin resistance or you are already at insulin resistance. And for those who don't know what insulin resistance is, your body tries to absorb glucose, but the cells reject glucose. So the pancreas is under the impression that, oh, maybe I'm not giving enough insulin, so I'll send more insulin, and the cells still reject that insulin. Hence, we use that term insulin resistance. So beyond a certain point, the pancreas just gives up. And that's when you end up with type 2 diabetes and a host of other problems thanks to type 2 diabetes. So as soon as you get a little bit of belly fat also, that's a red flag that, something is off. I need to get a blood test done. I need to check my HbA1c levels and realize that, okay, I need to go about fixing some things in my behavior.
That makes a lot of sense. Now, so let's say someone like Sisindri, who is 28, eats almost 4 or 5 biryanis in a week. If you give him biryani every day, he will eat that.
Yeah.
Of course, he has told me he will run with me, but he has never run with me and does not do any strength training. And of course, like Adarsh is 24, Sisindri is 28. Adarsh feels, I will start working out when people like the guests of our podcast who turn 40 and then they realize that they have to work out. So that's when I'll start working out. So that's what he says. But Sindri is on the verge of crossing 30 now, and I'm sure he will start paying attention to his health now. Now, if somebody comes to you, says, I don't know whether whatever I'm eating is right or not. So first thing, how do I know whether whatever I'm eating is the right thing or not?
I first ask them to send a picture of what they're eating for every meal. Send a disappearing image and I'll tell you how many calories these foods are. How do I know these calories? Certain delivery apps will tell you that, plate of idli is so many calories. So you'll get a rough idea of how many calories these are. Counting calories will always be an inaccurate science. Whether you are burning or counting how much is there, it'll be a, 5-10% margin plus or minus is going to be there. So I tell them, like how I told that person early on in the podcast where you asked me, you are eating 1,000 calories a day for breakfast. I teach them that, look, this breakfast alone is 600, 700 calories. Assuming you're having a morning snack, that's another 300. Lunch, another 600, 700. Evening snack, another 300. Dinner, another 700. This is the average amount of calories you're consuming. For a lot of people, that becomes an eye-opener. They realize that, oh, damn, I did not know I was consuming that much. I didn't know eating 3-4 kot badai with my tea is going to be this detrimental to my health. As soon as that happens, that awakening moment is there. And there they realize that, okay, they need to start getting better with their health. Because this is something that we have to blame evolution for. Eating is something that we do without really paying attention to it. Like if I ask you, what did you have for breakfast today? You're going to take 10 seconds to realize, what did I eat? It goes back. Because eating as a process is done subconsciously. We are never actively worrying about, is this making me feel lethargic? Is this making me feel energetic? Nobody looks at it that way. I have eaten 8 or more idlis many times in my life. But that one day made me realize that this was a bad idea.
Right.
So all this while we are eating food without really being self-aware of it. But once you start becoming self-aware of things, you realize that, okay, I need to eat less of this. I need to eat more of this. Then ask them, how much vegetables are you consuming in a day? Not really, not much. With just, my lunch, I eat some palya, I eat a bit of curry. And that's not enough. You are past your 30. Your gut health at least requires 20 grams of fiber. This bowl of cucumbers is only going to give you 3. Get another 17 grams. Then ask questions. Okay, what else can I do? Tell them you can get it from apples, you can get it from sweet corn, any seasonal fruit, go with it. So that way they understand that making these changes is something that they have to do little by little, and they slowly start changing their habits. So like you mentioned, your colleague here is eating 4 biryanis a day, once a week, sorry. And once they, 4 biryanis a day is quite scary. I would have an intervention if that happened. 4 biryanis a week, I tell them that, okay, each biryani is, say, 1,000-ish calories. If you're eating that much, this is the consequence. And then they start to realize that, okay, I need to fix this. It's very similar to creating financial literacy when it comes to budgeting, teaching people how to budget. Like, you understand, am I spending so much here? When you start looking at your UPI transactions or looking at your statement, bank statement, you realize, am I spending so much here? I didn't know I was spending so much here. And there you start to make these changes in your financial behavior with respect to money. Now you start making the same behavior changes with respect to food.
Not everybody is coachable, and self-realization, like what happened for you, is the best thing. Once they realize that, okay, I'm doing something wrong, then they would reach out to coach like you. So if somebody were to realize themselves, can they rely on something like Google, ChatGPT?
It's tricky because information online is always misleading. Like one, for example, the studies that they put across. One very famous study is cholesterol in eggs is going to increase your internal cholesterol. That study, if you read online, many people will click on the link and say, yes, the conclusion of that study says, yes, dietary cholesterol is going to increase the cholesterol in a person's blood. They will not read anything beyond that, because the study that they're referring to, wherein if you eat food that contains cholesterol, which will increase your cholesterol, is something that was done on rabbits. So that study doesn't apply to you. So you aren't a rabbit. If it doesn't apply to you is not something many people realize. And so much information online is like that, where scientific studies are there, but the scientific studies are done on, say, rodents, or it's done on rabbits or something else.
Yeah, even if it is done on humans, it is done on maybe 50 people, and then it is extrapolated.
It's done on 50 people, and it's made to believe that if it's done on 50 people, then it applies to the billion of us. That's one where information where you have to always take it with a pinch of salt. Learn to read information from two sides. Like, okay, one person says butter is terrible for you. Why? Let me look at somebody who says butter is good for you and try to get both sides of things. Because if you start looking at not just information but life in this binary way, that this food is very good for you, this food is very bad for you, stay away from all these bad things. Fat loss becomes extremely painful if you do that. You are never going to be happy in your fat loss journey. And that's what happened to all those people that we discussed in the start of the podcast, where you mentioned they all gained that weight back again.
Right.
Because they all didn't eat the chocolate in moderation. They all didn't eat that pizza in moderation. They all said no to this. And as soon as they got out of an environment where it was a zero, they had full access. That one pizza became 2 pizzas a day, and eventually 3 pizzas, and so on. So start looking at it as, this is bad for me beyond a certain point. Like if I eat 4 biryanis a week, then definitely it's a cause for concern. But if I'm eating once in a month, then that's not a worry. I'm on point with my meals 80-90% of the time. And that's good enough. I still will see progress.
Got it. So second part, how do I know what is my body composition? How can I figure that out?
You can check your body composition in 3 different ways. One is you can buy this very cheap calipers in the device online. You can do a pinch test on your thigh, belly, and see how much body fat you have. That device is like 300 rupees, and that will give you a relatively accurate measurement of how much body fat you have. The other one is you can buy a body composition scale. Step on the scale, sends magnetic waves in your body, and that magnetic waves will tell you how much body fat percentage you have. Those scales are available online for anywhere from 1,000 rupees to 10,000 rupees depending on the brand. So that's around 80-85% accurate. If you want something that is even more accurate, I don't know if it's there in Bangalore, but you have something called as a DEXA scan. And a DEXA scan will give you a near 100% accuracy as to how much body fat you have. And that is well over 10K last I checked to check it. But for most people, that simple scale connected to your phone is good enough to tell you how much body fat percentage you have. For men, 15 to 20% is most sustainable. For women, 20 to 25% is most sustainable. Men who want abs, 10 to 15%. Women who want abs, 15 to 20%. That's the way you can check your, the healthy range for body fat percentage you can look at. But if you're looking at the flat stomach in either cases, 15-20% for men, 20-25% for women.
So now I have figured out whatever I am eating is right or not. I've figured out my body composition. Now I want to fix both. So what's the next step?
The next step is being accountable to your coach every day and talking to them about what you are eating and letting them know about deviations that might be there. A deviation might be something like tomorrow there is a team building activity, there is an office lunch. So obviously, whatever is served on the table will be high in calories. How do I manage that? There is where you figure out, okay, you talk to your coach and the coach should give you a plan and tell them this is what you do. And I tell my clients the same thing. Look, 90% of the time you will know if it is happening. That's the case. Skip your breakfast, just eat whatever is there served at work. Skip dinner, you'll be fine. But if they get scared, you can tell them one day the human body is not going to shut down. We have survived thousands of years. One day you eating less is not going to kill you. Relax. So talk to them about these deviations that might be there. Talk to them about the indirect things that might affect your health. Like say, for example, you had bad sleep. You're feeling anxious. You're feeling stressed. You're not in the best state of mentally right now. So you feel like stress eating. What do you do? Your coach should be able to give you a solution and tell you, yeah, go ahead, indulge. Like I tell to a lot of women during the time of the month when the cravings come in, I tell them, I give a long list. I tell them, want to have a cornetto? It's 280 calories. Enjoy. Want to have a bar of chocolate? It's 250 calories. Enjoy. And I put instruction in the bottom telling them, single serving of any one of the above is okay. Do not buy this in a pack of 10 and then tell yourself that I will eat only one and save it for the rest of the month. Not happening. Just eat one. That's a solution a coach should be able to give you regarding this and not tell you, no, you are on a fat loss journey. No cornetto for you. No namkeen for you. You should know why it is there and how to go around that problem and not just brush it aside and say, no, nothing for you.
So you suggest hiring a coach. Yeah. What are the mental side effects of not eating well?
Not eating poorly has a lot of challenges like being low on energy throughout. I remember how embarrassing it was for me in the college I was working after I left Jain College that it didn't have an elevator. So when I had to go to the third floor to take class, climbing 3 flights of stairs meant I needed to rest for 10-15 minutes before I started class. I remember I would crash on the chair there and I would just breathe heavily there. And I knew that is embarrassing because I'm among these 16, 17-year-olds who are full of energy and they have never experienced this. And to do this in front of them was obviously very embarrassing. Another thing that will affect your confidence, and this happened to me and it will happen to many other people out there as well, is one workplace I was part of, they changed the dress code and they said, you can't wear jeans, you have to wear formal pants. I go to the nearby store to buy formal pants and this person says, sir, the maximum size of pant we have is 42. You require 44. I'm afraid we don't have it in our store. I was so embarrassed. 44? I require 44 inches? Okay, that is not something that makes me happy. And that creates a vicious cycle. You're so upset with yourself that, size 44 is not available. The next thing you do is you'll order pizza. You will go back to that old habit again and that will worsen the problem. It's like scratching a wound again and again and wondering why is it not healing. So that's one very hard thing that people who are overweight go through. And I can vouch for that because I've gone through that journey. It's very hard to find clothes. One time I remember I got this beautiful denim jacket and I tried so hard to button that jacket, the buttons broke. And that is again embarrassing. So all these things hurt your confidence, and it makes you feel, not very human. Like your whole dignity goes out of the door when such situations happen. You find it difficult to take part in an activity. You are camera shy. You tell people, no photographs, all that, and you lose out on very important memories. In my case, I can tell you, I have a folder of mine which is called as old bad pictures. None of those photos I've taken. When I was part of a college, events used to happen. These guys would hire photographers. The photographer has clicked me in a candid pose. I have never stood and said, take a picture of me. So you lose out on all those memories. Travel becomes a challenge because you'll have to worry about, I weigh 120 kilos. Will the toilet be able to bear my weight? Do I have to, sit in the plane uncomfortably on this 8-hour flight? Do I have to request a seatbelt extender because, the regular one doesn't fit me? So, all these things will hurt your mental health and it will make you feel miserable more than anything else.
Looks like those are also symptoms that are telling you that you need help now.
You need help now, yeah. And the funny thing is, even after you reach a healthy weight, you will find slight, subtle, that problem comes back all over again. Like one time I remember I ordered something from Mintra and they'd given the wrong size. I'm trying to wear it and it's very tight on my shoulders. I panicked. Have I gained fat? Have I gained fat? What happened? Because I was so used to clothes not fitting me and, looking for the next size. And when this happened, I was like, have I gained fat again? No, no, no. Today morning when I checked the scale, it wasn't, no weight gain. So all those things are something that you will start seeing, as a result of being overweight. It's, you're also going to make it difficult for people around you as well.
So when I have intent to do anything, whether lose fat or build strength, when I have the intent, maybe I'll develop a routine. When I show the commitment, it becomes a ritual maybe. Then when it becomes part of myself, it becomes a habit.
Yeah.
So how long does it take for someone to develop that habit? So if I show intent today, how long does it take to get into a
Doesn't take very long. To be honest, it takes around 30-45 days at best. I tell people you will see progress in 30-45 days if you are consistent.
I see the progress.
Yeah.
But now it has to become a habit. Now I don't need maybe somebody else to tell me that this is what I should do. Now it has become part of.
Oh, in that case, I would say about 6 months. Because good habits are not created overnight. Bad habits are also not created overnight as well. Like a person who smokes obviously started with just one cigarette and he got into a pack a day because he started with one. So good habits are very similar like that. You're going to get that in maybe about 6 months. So when I coach people, I tell them, look, I don't do 1 month things. 6 months, work with me. And pretty much all clients, I'm happy to say that they don't sign up after 6 months.
Okay.
Because they've developed that habit and they're like, I'm good to go. I'll be fine. And sometimes I tell them that, when I see their pictures online, it looks like you've gained fat. I say, yes, sir, I know I'm working on it. I'll be losing it. And 2 months later, they'll come back and tell me again, I've lost all that fat I gained. So takes about 6 months to get into that lifestyle of changing your behavior more than anything else. And then you will realize that, okay, yeah, I can do this. I don't need this hand holding anymore.
So are you saying the success of your work looks like making yourself redundant?
I hope so. It may not be good business to say that, but yeah, that is one way to show that I've done a good job.
So I have two daughters. So if I were to teach them good habit of eating good, what should I focus on?
Focus on teaching them why it is important to eat better in terms of a long-term benefit. Because don't look at it as how will this benefit me today? How will this benefit me tomorrow? Look at it from a long-term point of view. Like I said, I don't want to grow up and request help from people to do the simple things, which we all take for granted. Because I remember my father, when he had muscular dystrophy, picking up a book from a shelf was difficult for him. So, growing up with the habit of eating better, working out, etc., you wouldn't need help from others to do the simple things. And that is a way to live a healthy life without making some crazy compromises in your day-to-day routines.
Makes sense. And they also say, don't say, show them. I've tried doing that.
The advantage is you as a parent, if they see you do it, they will very likely copy it. In fact, this youngest client of mine, she's 13 years old. The reason she signed up with me to lift weights is because she saw her father do it. She saw her father get in shape and she's like, even I want to get in shape like that. So she started lifting weights along with her dad, and now it's like the mother is also joined in, so the whole family is getting in shape. So one person starts doing it in the family, that energy radiates in the house, and everybody wants to copy that because they start seeing you do better and they want that secret sauce.
Makes sense. So we ask this to every guest of ours. What does intentionality mean to you?
Intentionality to me means self awareness. With anything that you're doing, why am I spending X amount of money on Zomato instead of me cooking? Or why am I eating so much food when my physical activity is not so great? Self awareness, in my opinion, is a superpower because a lot of people do things without purpose. Like you ask them, why are you doing these things, say with respect to their career? And they'll say, no, this happened here, this happened there, so I joined here, so I'm doing this now. That doesn't make a lot of sense. But when you ask somebody who has done it with a lot of self awareness, like they'll tell you, oh, I always knew I wanted to do this, so I strategically planned my life out in such a way that I end up doing exactly what I love. And you will see the guy who strategically planned out, who lived his life intentionally, is the happier guy. Whereas the person who happened to do it by accident, because circumstances around him told him to do it, is unfortunately going to be unhappy there.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. Thank you.
Thank you.